Hello everyone, Mav Hunter here, coming to you from the Arizona desert. It's March 9th, 2023, and I've spent the last several days out here on my final scouting trip after the season closed January 31st, scouting for mule deer. It's been a successful trip. I've spotted probably well over 200 mule deer and several nice bucks that I hope will be around for the reopener in December of 2023, and hoping to be able to get an over-the-counter Arizona archery tag in January 2024. With that being said, I've had a few questions about what I use for optics, so I thought I'd spend this time in showing what I use for glassing optics when I'm hunting and I'm scouting. These optics are 18 to 20 years old. They work great for me, even still today, even with my aging eyesight. But you can, I'm sure the glasses today, the optics, the binoculars and spotting scopes today are probably much better quality, better optic quality, clarity, etc. But on a retired guy's budget, I'm just going to stick with what I have. So with that being said, let's get into the binoculars, the optics. This is a case, I think it's called Alaskan Guide Company, that I've had for a number of years. I really like this case, mostly when I was backpack hunting the high alpine areas and such, and rifle hunting because it's got little storage pockets and so on. But archery hunting, it feels like it adds bulk. And I'm trying to not have bulk when I'm out there, especially when I'm drawing a bow. Now, I've shot my bow with this pack on, this binocular case on, and it's never interfered with the string or the bow or anything. It's just a feel. And I just don't like that feel of that bulkiness. So, when I'm primarily archery hunting, I've gone to a different system. These are my hunting BINOCS. It's a neoprene case. So I like this system because it keeps it snug, it's close to my body, it's not really bulky, and when I draw back, it just gives me an unencumbered feel. So I really like that about this BINOC in this case. I have a place to clip on my rangefinder and put it in my pocket or my rangefinder case. All my BINOCs, I got these little spuds, microfiber lens cleaners. Tuck this back in so it doesn't get dirty out here. This black strap just hooks on to my iPhone so I don't drop it. I've dropped it several times, and one time fishing I dropped it in the water. That was a no-no. At least I got it back, and it took it out of the water within seconds, but had to dry it out. So that's what this strap is for. Take off the case. And one thing about your optics, make sure you use your lens covers. And when you're in the field and you're not using your optics, keep them covered. It'll keep your lenses a lot cleaner, keep the dust off of them, which improves the clarity. But also if you have an accident and slip and fall, you're protecting your lens. So I flip this over, and I'm ready to glass. This little red bungee is just something I put on because I don't like the case flopping around like this. So I take and roll up the case, then I'll add my bungee to it, and it doesn't hang down as much. Still flops around a little, but doesn't hang down low. Now into the BINOC itself. My hunting BINOCs are Swarovski ELs. They're 10 power with a 32 millimeter objective. Now generally speaking, you like to have a ratio of at least 4 between the power and the objective. So if you've got 10 power back here you usually want a 40 millimeter objective at a minimum. And they make a 10 by 42. Back then, 18 years ago, I really didn't notice a difference, except I know I wanted these to carry when I'm hunting, and they're a lot slimmer and smaller. But this 32 millimeter objective, with the clarity and the quality of the lens in this optic, is just amazing. I've had hunting friends that they have their 10 by 40s, their 10 by 42s, and then they look through these 10 by 32 Swaros and they're amazed at the clarity. They actually say this is better than their Leupold glass or their Vortex glass, and it is. But it's very, very clear, but it's small and it's lightweight. The downside is, if I were to buy these today, they're over $3,000. They're like $3,100 to $3,400 online. And these are the SWARO EL 10 by 32s. But I like these a lot. Next in line is my SWARO 15 by 56 binoculars. These are the SLC. I've had these for 18 years. I like them. They're heavy, but again, the optical clarity of these is just amazing. Even today's standards of the new optics that are out there in the field. The reason clarity and quality are important is years ago, I just couldn't afford this type of optics when I had a couple little kids at home and so on. So I was using optics, and then when I would go to glass for 20, 30 minutes or longer, I'd get some severe headaches, and I'd get this dizziness, blurry vision, etc. It was from eye strain. Using these Swarovskis, I haven't had a headache or eye strain ever since I bought these glass. So, that being said, buy the best you can afford. I've been there as a young fellow with a family. I couldn't afford this. Then when I got to be in my late 40s and 50 years old, I invested in this, and the difference is remarkable. Anyway, remove the cover. Again, you see my little spuds lens cleaning cloth here. Remove the covers. And while you can hold these, hand hold these, they're very heavy and they're not very steady. But I use the Swarovski tripod attachment. And a lot of times, I will hold the bottom of this attachment and then use my hand here to steady and focus with, and it's amazing how rock steady I can get these. This here is a little bino cover, so if the sun's out and it's bright and it's coming in from the sides, it just helps shield that sun away from my eyes. But these are the SWARO 15 by 56 SLC BINOCS. It's a great BINOC, but again, I think when I bought these, they were about $1,200, $1,300. Now they're like $2,200, $2,300 online. And my third, but not my last, optics is my SWARO spotting scope. Back when I was younger, in my 40s, I did a lot of backcountry high alpine mule deer hunting, packing in 5 to 7 miles, sometimes on trails, sometimes just bushwhacking. and, you know, gaining a lot of elevation. I don't do as much of that backcountry hunting any longer due to my age, being in my mid-60s and retired. But back then I wanted something small and light, and this is the SWARO STS, the straight scope, in a 20 to 60 power eyepiece with a 65 millimeter objective. People say angled lens or straight lens. It's your preference. I just prefer a straight lens. A lot of times I'm standing or I'm sitting, and like this, so most of my glassing I'm actually sitting down. And being in the Arizona desert, I'd rather sit on a little stool than sit on the ground, or even put a pad on the ground. I have a seating pad that I'll sit on. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff out here that pokes you, scratches you, and bites you. So I prefer to be up off the ground when I'm doing my glassing. I think if I were to buy a spotting scope today, one, it would be Swarovski for sure. But two, I would probably buy at least an 80 millimeter and buy the 95 millimeter. That larger objective just lets more light in. So early in the morning, late in the evening, just before dark, when the animals are most active and you're doing the most glassing, that light transmission, gathering light's really important. But these 65 mm, they work good enough. Like I say, being on a retired guy's budget, I'm not going to go out and spend $3,500 to $4,000 on a new spotting scope. I think this scope here I paid about $1,800 for, but I've had it for 20 years. It's been on a sheep hunt, numerous out-of-state elk and mule deer hunts, and being 20 years old, I'm sure today's optics probably are brighter, clearer, etc., but it still does the job for me. Once again, I always keep my lens covered. I got a little piece of Velcro here, so when I take the front objective off, I can stick it to the... Back here is something new I added. It's a mag view where it's magnetized. I can attach my phone, and I'll do a review on this system later. I just purchased this year. Yeah, that's my spotting scope. With these heavier optics like spotting scopes and 15 by 56 binoculars, what really helps is to have a good tripod. I've used a number of tripods over the years, and tripods, let's face it, they're all designed for cameras, not binoculars, but you know, binoculars can work. But the one thing is I've gone away from the aluminum tripods. I sold those and I bought the new carbon leg tripods, and the weight savings is great. This whole tripod is maybe just over a pound, and that includes the aluminum pan head. One thing about tripods, I see a lot of people when they set them up, they start at the bottom to extend out the legs, and then they work up, and that's just reverse of what you should do. These bottom legs are pretty thin, and they're not as stable as the upper portion. So when you're setting up your tripod, work from the top down to the ground. The closer you can keep this portion to the ground, the steadier the tripod and the glass is going to be. There's a little thing here, a lot of times in wind, I've got a little mesh bag that I can put a big rock in and hang below here to help steady the tripod. But work, when you're extending your tripod legs out, work from the top down as you need height. I use a outdoorsman or company in Arizona for a pan head and attachments. What I really like is they have a system whereby using their equipment you can get these small machined aluminum blocks, and I can easily and quickly change from spotting scope to my binocular. Just that quick and easy. A lot of times in the field, if I'm hiking a distance, like here, I'm usually hiking to the top of these hills back here in the desert to get a look down into the washes and the ravines and arroyos. A lot of times, because of the weight, I'm just taking one tripod. I know they have systems out there where you can have your glass and your spotting scope on the same tripod. I haven't tried those, but I think it's a great idea. So it's to cut down weight. If I'm driving out in my vehicle, parking on an overlook and using my glass, then I'll use two tripods. I'll set one up for the spotting scope and I'll set the other tripod up for my glass. My other carbon tripod is holding my camera that's filming this video right now. But anyway, so that's what I like about this outdoorsman system. It's lightweight, it's machined aluminum, and I can quickly interchange. I even have an attachment that I can put a GoPro camera or my Sony camcorder onto a tripod using this same machined aluminum block. And they're great. A little bonus to my optics is something a lot of hunters don't think about, but I have a fourth optic, and that's my rangefinder. This is a Leupold, but this rangefinder, the lens is 6 power. So if I've got a deer out there at 60 yards and I'm ranging the deer, that deer now looks like it's 10 or 12 yards away. So a lot of times, especially in a tree stand, if I'm ranging a deer or whatever, don't forget that you've got a nice optic on your rangefinder. I really like this Leupold RX 1200 DBR. I've had it for a number of years. It's been super reliable. I just glassed a cactus down there at 128 yards. Well, that's the review for my optics. Like I say, I've had these optics from 15, 18, 20 years. They still do me fine out in the field, even with my aging eyesight. Out there choosing optics, just choose the best that you can afford. Go to a shop where you can actually take the binocs outside and look through them. And I mean look through them for 20 or 30 minutes. If it's going to cause you eye strain, you'll find out real quick in that 30 minutes. There's nothing worse than eye strain from the optics and getting headaches. With these, since a high quality optic such as this, it's fine. A few years ago I tried another mid-range brand spotting scope. I think it was Vortex. I tried it because it was 95 millimeters and I really liked the light gathering capability, but even that glass in clarity, optical clarity, did not compare to my SWARO with the 65 millimeter. And this is an old scope. This has been on various elk hunts. It's been on one sheep hunt up in Alaska. So it's gone through a lot and it's still going well. So anyway, that's what I use. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up icon. And to stay tuned for new gear review videos and such, click the red subscribe button. A big thank you for all those who've subscribed to my YouTube channel. I hope you find this information interesting and helpful. And see you out in the field.